Hello, I'm Kianah.
And I'm Rita.
And I'm Rin, and today we will be taking you through our CAS project presentation, which was a blog about Middle Eastern art.
As a group, we are all interested in learning and teaching others about the various forms of artwork present in the Middle Eastern world. To do so, we developed an Instagram account called Middle Eastern Art and posted daily for a time period of 1 month. As we live in a Middle Eastern country, we wanted to explore and learn about the different forms of art and culture that are present within our community.
Through collaboration and research, we chose a set of artists from 10 different Middle Eastern countries, ranging from Morocco to Saudi Arabia. For each artist, we chose 3 pieces of work that interested us and inspired us. With that in mind, we divided our roles into 3 equal jobs. I focused on researching the artwork and culture of the country of a specific artist. Kianah researched the background of the specific artist, and Rita researched the specifics of the pieces, such as medium, date, dimensions, and so on.
These three aspects came together in that each post on Instagram gave the viewer information about the specific art piece, the artist, and the country of origin. We think that this is important as we live in the Middle East and believe that we should learn more about the cultures that we interact with. It is also very interesting to see the differences in art between different cultures and teaching others about those differences. Finally, this also breaks the idea that modern and contemporary art is not just present in the Eastern European world.
My role was to investigate the unique, rich cultures for each selected Arab country. In this presentation, the Lebanese, Egyptian, and Syrian cultures are introduced. In recognition of the art, music, and theater events showing the passion for art on a national scale, UNESCO declared Beirut as the cultural capital of the Arab world for 1999. Lebanon has seen multiple foreign invasions over history. The language spoken reflects on the history and the culture adapted. Arabic, French, English, and Armenian are commonly spoken in the community. Not just language diversity, Lebanon has diversity in religions. Establishing a national identity from multiple languages and religions may be difficult, leading to conflict, though it also creates a unique artistic taste distinct to other Arab art. The cedar tree in the center of the Lebanese flag symbolizes 6,000 years of history, and the red stripes above and under the cedar tree represent the blood split by the Lebanese throughout their history, reminding the constant troubles. To move on with the Egyptian culture, although the country with its majority of land covered in sand, Egypt was able to establish a rich culture from the ancient times due to the grace of the Nile River. The ancient religion of Egypt was established by the bringing and danger of the Nile River that still fascinates scholars and tourists today. Egyptian religion was a combination of beliefs and practices which include Egyptian mythology, medicine, psychiatry, science, magic, herbology, and spiritualism, alongside the belief of a higher power and a life after death. It is said that this ancient civilization was established in 3000 BC. Ancient Egyptian art can be easily distinguished from others as it is famous for its color variation, the two-dimensional figure of drawing, and texture. However, in the ancient Egyptian language had no word for art. These pieces served as an essential functional purpose tied with religion and ideology. To move on with the Syrian culture, Syria has a traditional society that holds a long cultural society. Its taste in that traditional arts is expressed in the tabkhe, traditional sword dance, and also in poetry. Syria has always been one of the frontiers of Arabic poetry and held pride in the tradition of oral and written poetry. Syrian poetry has contributed to the classical and traditional genres of Arabic poetry, with the influence of the French Romantic influences, which is brought to the country during the French rule. Poetry has been a tool for Syrian poets to express their political opinions, love, and religion. Archaeologists have discovered extensive writings and rich cultural equivalent rivaling those of Iraq and Egypt and in and around Syria's ancient city Ebla. The findings revealed the influence of Roman and Hellenistic dynasties of the Syrian ground. It is important to know your country's culture and traditions, as well as the culture of the country you live in. Knowing your own heritage makes you feel belonged, and to know the culture of where you live in, for now the UAE, is important to be appreciated and respected. From this experience, I was open-minded and amazed by the rich culture the Middle Eastern region has and how different each country's culture is. I'm from Japan, so this experience made me think about my own culture and how it has been part of my life. I appreciate my culture more, and I'm willing to learn more about it.
As the researcher of artists, my role was to research each artist's background along with the influence and impact it has had on their art. Although each artist has their own unique narrative, I will be looking at the lives of Manucher Yektai, Driss Awadahi, and Ahmed Al-Sudani and the impact their stories have had on their artwork. The first artist I'll be talking about is Manucher Yektai. Manucher Yektai is an Iranian artist. Throughout Yektai's life, he lived in 3 countries, Iran, France, and the USA. It was in these countries where exposure to different art styles helped him create his own style as a representation of his identity and ethnicity. When Yektai moved to New York, he was exposed to abstract expressionism, which heavily influenced his style. Some of his inspirations were Willem de Kooning, Sam Francis, and Jackson Pollock. Yektai chooses to share his culture through writing in poetry as well, expressing his cultural hybridity through different channels, a traditional Persian poet and a modernist American painter. The next artist I'll be talking about is Driss Awadahi. Driss Awadahi is an Algerian artist. Awadahi was born in Morocco in 1959 to Algerian parents. It was in Algeria where he began to study art and in Dusseldorf where he subsequently graduated. Awadahi's subject matter centers around the environment of urban alienation using geometric abstraction and transparency. Awadahi's inspiration began with images of the enormous public housing developments in Algeria that had been modeled after the French's middle-class housing. Without revealing the inhabitants, the paintings nonetheless bring to mind the politics of class, religion, and ethnicity embodied within these structures as they came to accommodate displaced rural populations. In 2014, Awadahi received the Grand Prix Leopold Sedar Senghor Prize at the Biennial of Contemporary African Art in Dakar, Senegal, receiving recognition for his contributions to the art world as an African artist. The final artist I'll be talking about is Ahmed Al-Sudani. Ahmed Al-Sudani is an Iraqi artist. Al-Sudani was born in Baghdad, but sought political asylum in the USA in 1999. For this, Al-Sudani's inspiration comes directly from his own experiences as a child, as well as his concerns for contemporary global conflicts. Al-Sudani centers most of his on themes such as war, atrocity, and the thin line separating life and death. Although his paintings focus on Iraq's troubled history, he manages to display universal themes of struggle, despair, and destruction through the creation of ethereal landscapes and bursts of bright color. The impact that this project has had on me was through the idea that researching the artist's history and background helped me gain depth in understanding and interpreting their artwork. Many artists draw from their own experiences as inspiration for their work, and utilizing art as an outlet for individual expression, which has also helped me gain an appreciation for the work that I didn't have before. After living in Asia for the past 10 years, this project has opened me up to new knowledge and the rich history of the Middle East that I hadn't learned about before. One of my biggest takeaways from this project is that it sparked my curiosity in learning about various artists' backgrounds and identities as a way to grasp the true meaning of their work. Similarly, this project has also shed light on the importance of understanding your own identity and embracing your story in a way that you can share with others through others globally through your own creative outlet.
My role in the group was to research pieces of art from each artist and record the specifics of how they were composed. This included finding the name, date of production, techniques used, and dimensions of each image using various different databases. Doing so allowed me to look at the many different techniques that are used within Middle Eastern art, and it was also very interesting. Many artists use a combination of different types of art forms to make one piece, which was a very foreign idea to me. These styles range from oil, acrylic, and watercolor to also charcoals and pastels. I was very interested in seeing how these different materials, each with different requirements for use, such as time of drying, different materials that are needed as a platform, and so on, work together in creating unique pieces. One specific technique that I was not accustomed to was the chromogenic print technique, which is made from a photographic, it is a photographic print made from a color negative, transparency, or digital image that is developed using a chromogenic process. And having never seen this, I was curious to learn more about such realistic images and how they had the newspaper style effect on them on top of them. The third technique that I will talk about is gauching on papyrus. So gauching in and of itself is a very foreign technique to me. It is a type of water media, and it is typically described as a combination of both watercolor and acrylic paint characteristics. I also found it very interesting to learn when artists use non-typical platform or bases for their pieces, such as canvas or paper, and instead used unique bases like papyrus, which is a type of thick paper that was made out of a certain plant and was used back in ancient Egypt. So everything I'd learned in the process of researching different techniques and art styles within the Middle East has broadened my understanding of the topic and has pushed me to go beyond thinking within the typical box of what counts as art. My curiosity to try new things and be imaginative stems from seeing these different art styles and platforms that I'd never heard of before, and I look forward to learning even more about them in the future and even trying them out myself.
Now, we want you to create your own Middle Eastern inspired art piece. We'll be creating this art piece called Nadoum 4 by Tunisian artist Mahdawi. We'll be giving you a step-by-step process to recreate your own Nadoum 4, so feel free to pause the video while you work your way through each step. Also, if you want to learn more about this piece, pause now or check our Instagram page for more information about different art pieces as well.
So the materials that you'll need for this activity are a sheet of paper, pencil and eraser, a ruler, coloring utensils such as pencils, markers, crayons, highlighters, and so on, a black pen or marker, and your imagination.
So step 1, using your pencil and ruler, draw a square on the sheet of paper.
Step 2, using your ruler and pencil, draw geometric lines in triangular shapes throughout the square.
So step 3, once you are happy with the shapes, outline them in a black pen or marker.
Step 4, using a pencil, lightly draw thin arrow lines within the bigger shapes.
And finally, step 5, using any colors you would like, color in all of the shapes.
Thank you for listening, and we hope you learned something new about Middle Eastern art through our presentation and CAS project.